I'm Bet from BettesMakes, and today we're going to make a decorator paper pumpkin. And we've got the template all ready for you, so you're not going to have to try and search for different things. I do have the template. I just want to show you a little example of what we have here. It's a cute little pumpkin with a couple of leaves and a stem, and of course a little circle at the bottom. And this is exactly what we're going to make. So this is a lot of fun. So since we are already in Design Space, I just want to tell you a couple of things that we're going to need here. And one of them is going to be a glue gun. I found a glue gun works a lot better when you're working with paper. And the other thing is the paper that I want to use, I want something that's solid core. So this is a premium paper that I found at Michael's. And it's 8.5 by 11, so it's a lot easier to work with, and it's quite flexible, which is really nice. And of course, you're going to need a standard mat. I use a brayer to hold things down. And of course, the last thing that I mentioned before is you simply need a glue gun, which I'm heating mine up right now. So let's get going on this project. I am just going to hide our text here for now. And I'm going to my uploads here. And for my upload, you'll see right here, this one, it's called Paper Pumpkin, and I will make sure you get that, and you'll see all the parts that we need. So I'm just going to click on it, and I'm going to add it to the canvas. So here we are. We have this nice little paper pumpkin we're going to be working with. Right now, it's all grouped up into one group. I am going to come up here and ungroup it before we do any cutting. And that took that apart, and it looks like it wants to be grouped again. Okay, so there's a couple of groups here. So let's take a look at the size of this pumpkin, the one that I made before, and I'm just showing it to you again. This is a really tiny one, and it's about 1 inch tall when we're finished with it. And you'll see right here that this particular pumpkin, if I put it up in the corner, we're only going to the 4.5 inch mark. So it is quite small, but we're going to work with the small one to start, and you can make bigger ones later if you so wish. There is absolutely nothing you need to do for any of this. You have this little piece here. Now this piece is going to be inside the center of the pumpkin. And what that does is it'll fold up and provide a sturdy base for us to work with. We have another round circle here, and that's where the pumpkin is going to sit on that. So it's nice and steady and flat when you go to put it onto a table service. And of course, 2 leaves, and they've been all measured out and made sure that they are going to fit on this particular pumpkin. And this is our stem, which we'll cut out on brown paper. Now, I can go ahead and go over to the mat right now and then have to move everything between mats. So the easier thing to do if you want to cut out everything on one mat is just highlight everything that's on the screen, and you're going to change up here on operations, you're going to change everything to the orange color so it goes all on one mat. Doesn't mean you're going to cut it out at the same color, but it's definitely going to be on one mat. Now remember, this is a small pumpkin. Now, if you wanted to make it bigger, I would highlight everything and maybe add 2 inches to it, and that would make it a little bit bigger. So let's just see what happens. We have a width of 9.1. Let's make it 11 inch. Well, 11 inches is all we have here. So let's back this up. Let's make this 10 inches. And you'll see everything adjusts in size exactly the way you want it. So let me just check and see what the size of this is now. And this is moved up to a 5.083, which is fine. It's just a little bit bigger, but you could increase the size of it. If you increase the size of this, you will need to increase the size of the inside. You'll see with the inside piece, it actually fits so that the center part is in there. So let's just take a look at it. You'll see where the center part is. It just comes below that and actually hits the middle. So we're not going to mess around with it anymore. I just increased it a little bit so that we could play with it a little more. So now let's save this project. So I'm just going to call this, let's say I'm going to put it into our October makes. And this is going to be Decorator Pumpkin. That looks really good. Let's just save it. And I'll just click on the check mark over here to remove that. And then we're going to go ahead and make it. I am using my Maker 3 for this project, and we're going on matte with it. So I'm going to click done. You see everything's all bunched up. Everything's going to be orange. But what we want is we want our leaves in green, and they're going to come down here to this corner. And of course, we have our edge piece, which is in brown. And the rest of it can all fit together right here. No problem. Let's see if we can fit it all. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, so these will be the orange pieces. So I only need a piece that is just over 6 inches, so 6.5 inches by 7. I have my 8.5 inch paper already set. So I'm just going to use one piece of paper here. Now for the green leaves, I need to cut a piece of paper 3 inches by 5 inches to fit here. And this one will be 3 by 2. And we'll cut those as we go over to the demo table. So I'm just going to click on continue here, and then we'll move over to the demo table. Just give it a second. And we're going to use a medium cardstock. And of course, all it wants us to do is simply cut it. So, okay, I'm going to stop my share right now. And I'm going to move us over to the demo table. So, okay, I had mentioned all the different sizes that we wanted to be working with, and that's going to be really important when we go through this. So the top part is going to be the orange. Let's move these to the side for a second. Protector sheet somewhere where I can get to it. So I'm not going to bother to cut this piece ahead of time because it's just going to fit in here. And this will be the bottom. It will be the part that holds the center in place. Now down in this corner, we're going to need a piece of green for the leaves. So I'm actually going to have to do a little cutting here. Let me just slide this out of the way. I do have my cutting board here that we can use. And this is a Cricut cutting board. And I'm just going to pull this out so that we can cut it in the right size. And I said we're going to need a piece about, let's see, how much room do we have here? About 3 inches tall and maybe 5. So let's go over. This is 11, so minus 3 is the 8-inch mark. So I'm just going to cut it there. Just move my slider over. Sometimes it just doesn't want to cut the way I want it to. I'm just going to cut that piece off. And I'm just move it over here. Now, I said I didn't need the whole thing across, but I'm going to make it about 5 inches. So let's go. We have 8.5. So I need 3.5 here. Or 3.5. Move my brayer out of the way. 3.5. That should be pretty good. I may just take that piece off. I'm going to use the bigger piece here, so I'll remove that. That's going to fit into this corner, and then I need another one in the brown, and I'm just going to make that about 3 inches as well. So we had 11 minus 3 is 8. This piece off. And we didn't need it very wide. I see there's a little flaw in my paper here. So what I'm going to do is just cut off a piece here, get rid of the flaw. Now it's pretty big. I don't need it quite that big, but that's what we're going to use. So I'll just put my cutter away. Pull this back out. So this is for the leaves. I'm going to put it down in this corner. And I'm going to put just the square piece over in this corner. And I am going to use my brayer tool because I want to make sure that they stay in place. I find sometimes paper will rip if you don't make sure that it is in place. Now I'm going to have to pull my machine over a little bit because I need for it to have some room in behind that I'm not banging the wall. So I'll just click here and it will come up and I'll have to push the go pad in just a second. Okay, we're ready to go here. Okay, we'll just unload the mat. I'm just going to move my machine off to the back here. And I know I have to click on finish on my design space, but that's okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut this off and close it so we have some room to work here. So there we go. Now we have everything ready, all cut out. As I said, I made this piece just a little bit bigger than what I needed, but I will use that for other pieces later. This one's easy just to pull off. And of course, what I like to do is roll my mat over and pull pieces so that they come off flat. You can see this is sticking pretty good here. Just want to get everything off. Quite pull it all off, but that's okay. We have one piece here. Okay, I'll remove that. I have one of my leaves here, and I've got to pull these two pieces off. Now, generally what you can do is just use a little bit of a scraper tool. I'm just going to start it with my scraper so that I can get it up. Just bend this over a bit. There we go. We got that one. My mat seems to have a lot of stick on it. So I'll just show you here. I got this. Just be careful on the leaf. There we go. Now I need to put my protector on my mat. Okay, now we're ready to put this whole thing together. What I like to do first is I just bend these up. We didn't want a score line per se because we're going to be bending them a lot and we're going to bend different ways of doing things. Now, generally you want the pumpkin to curl a bit, but you also want these end pieces to be folded in. So we're going to fold those end pieces because we're going to glue on top of each other. Why we need the glue gun. You need something that's going to dry pretty quickly. And the other thing we need to do is bend these in place. But before we do that, I want to be able to put the circle in place. Now it's a little hard to see, I understand, just sort of, you're just going to glue this on top. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue from my glue gun here. Just a little bit, just so it holds it in place. Need to come out. There we go. And just glue this into place. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just there to make the bottom pretty steady. That looks pretty good just the way it is, and you'll see how we've curved things in to make this work. So what you could do, and this is what I generally do, is take a pen or something round that I can use. And what I'm going to do is just curl these at the top more than anything. Just curl them a bit so I get a nice rounded edge to it. So just go through one at a time and just sort of curl them over so you get a bit of a curl. This just gives it a little bit of a peel rather than square folds all the time. Lovely. Okay, one more to go here. All right, we have this piece all ready to go. And while we're bending, I might as well take these leaves. What we're going to do is just give them a bit of a bend in each part of the leaf. And you don't want them perfectly straight. You just want them bent enough so they're bending inwards. We didn't put any score lines in it so that you could do your own design bends. So that looks pretty good. And we'll do the same with the next one. All these nice little bends, leaves bend from different places. None seem to be exactly the same, although they're very close. There we go. One more little bend here, just to make it look a bit like a leaf that's got a few bends in it. Now we're ready to start working with this smaller piece. So the idea behind that is to provide something that's going to hold down the glue part. So what you want to do is go to the top of these circles, and you're going to fold it in as straight as possible. And you're going to do the same thing with the next side. I try to get them as straight as possible. And then we're going to take the two top circles and bend those in as well. So you have all the bends in place. So when I put them together, it's going to look like a little stand. That's exactly what you want. So what we need to do now is glue this together at the top, and then we're going to glue the bottom into the center over here. So let me move this over here and get a little bit of glue on the top here. There we go. And I want to glue those together. That's going to be a little hot. Just want to make sure they stick together before we go on to the next stage. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so now we have the stand that's going to go into the middle here. So I'm going to glue this right down into the center. So I'm going to have to put my glue on the bottom here. Oops, I got a lot that time. It's okay, as long as I get it into the center. This time I'm just going to use something else other than my fingers to put it into the center here. Doesn't matter if you have a little extra glue, nobody's going to see it. There we go. I'm just going to let that dry. I have to make sure it's nice and dry before we start doing the next stage. So while we're waiting for this piece, what we're going to do is we're going to take the stem, that's this part right here, and we're going to roll it. So my paper is a bit stiff, so I want to be able to roll it. And I know it's not going to be perfectly circular, but we'll try and get it as circular as possible once we've got it all rolled up. I'm just going to squish it a little bit and roll it so it becomes a round piece for our stem. So you can see the kind of circle that we'll have there and there. What I need to do now is put some glue down here and hold that together. Well, hopefully I won't get as much glue this time. There we go. I'm just going to glue that down in place. That's pretty hot. Okay, looking good. Let me just push it down with this. There we go. Now that's in place. So our stem is pretty well ready to go. Our leaves are ready to go. Let me take a little extra glue off my stylus here. So this looks pretty dry. So this is the more tough part of exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to take each one of these and we're going to glue it on top and wait for it to dry. So I'm just going to put the glue on the top here, not on these, because that would be too difficult. Let me just move my glue gun over here a bit. I like to have a protective cover here for my mat. So this is going to get a tiny bit of glue here. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the first one in place here, and we're going to let it dry before I bring the next one in. So let's kind of hold it down a little bit. Might even take tweezers and hold it down. I do have a pair of tweezers here somewhere. And pliers would work just to hold it into place. Want to make sure that it glues into place before I add the next one. You could use any kind of tweezers you want. I just happen to have those. Now that should stay in place. As you can see, this is the centerpiece that kind of holds everything together. So let's now come over here again and we'll add another little blob of glue. Big blob. Oh, first one came down because of the heat. Okay, so now we have 2 in place. Okay, there's the first one. There's the second one. I'm just going to grab them here and hold them into place. There's an issue with the hot glue. You really have to let it dry before you move on to the next piece. Otherwise, it's going to flip out, exactly what happened to me right here. Got a lot of glue in there, no big deal. Okay, just push this down. Okay, we should be ready for the next one to go into place. And just a very small blob here. I really don't want very much on it. There we go. That looks a lot better than what I had before. Push that on top. Once again, I am going to hold it into place. And it's going to be a little more difficult as we get to the last one, but these ones work really well. As you can see, it's holding into place with our stand that we put in the middle. Now you could get decorative and you could add little faces on this pumpkin as well. Now we're pretty tight. Looks pretty good. Right, let's add the next one. Remember, I just want a small amount. Get too much of it. Okay, just a small amount like that. I want to get the next one into place. I'm going to hold that as well. It just takes a few seconds. But you don't want to be moving it around when it's not dry because it'll all come popping back out and then you've got to re-glue everything. The last one is going to be the more difficult one because it encloses the whole pumpkin all by itself. We're looking pretty good here. Pretty dry. Okay, second to last. Small blob. Let me just bring it out over here. Oh, bigger blob than I wanted, but that's, my glue gun is not the most perfect, but I am going to hold it into place like this. Now, if you're worried about the glue showing through here, don't, because we still have the stem to place in and then leaves over top. I am getting a lot of these threads. Let's just check this out. Yeah, they look really good here. Now for this last, more difficult one, because it's really hard to get your fingers in there and take care of it. Let me see if I can get just a little bead here. There's just a tiny bead. Okay, that's all I want for this. This one I'm going to have to push down because I got to work it in and on top. There we go. This time I'm going to have to hold it with my finger. Just make sure it stays in place. With these extra little threads. Actually, I can get my pliers in there and just to hold it. Just want to make sure nothing falls apart. So we have the basis of the pumpkin in here. Now remember, you can decorate it, as I mentioned before. Here's a few extra little threads that we have here. We'll get rid of those. Right. Just want to make sure it stays into place. Now for the stem, this is a pretty easy part because all we're going to do is we're going to add the glue to it and then just hold it into place. So let me just add some glue into the end here. we go. Just nice little threads. All I'm going to do is just hold it into place. There we go. We have to let it dry in place. Okay, just going to hold my finger on it for a second or two. This is so much fun to make. They're so easy, and you can make them a lot bigger. As I said, I just used a smaller design. This one will be a little bigger than our original one, but not much. I just have to make sure this is dried enough. And with a hot glue gun, that's not too bad. Now, what we want to do is place these leaves so they go around here like this. So I'm just going to glue it to the stem. So I need to glue this stem piece. Just grab the back of that. Oh, I got a big blob here too. Okay, let me just smooth it on there. Just going to take this and I'm just going to glue it right to the stem. There we go. And then the same with the second piece here. I've got a thread here that's pulling it over. And the same with the nice little second piece here. Get a little bit of glue. Hey, perfect. All right, I just have a little bit at the end. Now I can decide where I want my second leaf to go. And I'm just going to place it like this. And there we go. We have these two cute little pumpkins. This one we made today. This one I made before with a little bit different color and a little different color cardstock. So that is all there is to making these cute little pumpkins. And you just might want to clean it up with a few of those blue threads. There we go. So that is it. This is our pumpkin. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. And I just turn it to the side. It is really simple and easy to make. I really hope you enjoyed making this. So until next time, happy crafting.